You're not crazy. You're postpartum, and there's a real difference. I'm Mandy Stryke. I'm a family nurse practitioner, mom of two littles, and postpartum nutrition specialist. And this is Postpartum Real Talk, the show where we stop the sugarcoating and give you clinical clarity and the honest conversation you actually deserve. Let's get into it. Hi, welcome back to Postpartum Real Talk. I'm Mandy, and if this is your first time here, I am so glad that you found this. Today's episode is one that I've wanted to make since before the podcast even existed because I've always wanted to talk to moms and educate them and validate them on things they are feeling. Because I cannot tell you how many times I've sat across from a mom, whether in my own personal life or as a clinician, and she is just white knuckling her way through the newborn phase, thinking something is wrong with her. She's Googling her symptoms at 2 a.m. She's texting her mom friends asking, is this normal? And she's sitting at her postpartum checkup trying to figure out how to explain what she's feeling in the 6 minutes that her provider has for her. And I just want to preface this by saying it's not the OB's fault. They have one quick visit. They want to clear you and make sure you're good to go. It's the healthcare system that is failing mothers. And I also want to preface this by saying I am going to go through some things that can be considered normal. But if you are concerned and you are feeling like something is wrong, then you should be talking to your doctor. And if your doctor is not willing to listen or they are not hearing you, then you need to advocate for yourself and find a new doctor. Unfortunately, this is something we have to do in healthcare sometimes. And it's just one of those things that you need to trust your body. And if you think something is wrong, then you need to advocate and advocate and advocate until you get to the right person who will listen to you. So I'm going to be telling you about what is considered normal and what's not, and when to seek help. But if you're questioning anything, please go talk to your doctor. I am not your medical doctor, and I want you to have one. So if you find that you are still feeling like something's wrong, please go schedule an appointment right now. And before we even get into it, the fact that you're asking, is this normal? Means that you're paying attention to it. It means you're not just surviving, you're trying to understand what's happening to you. And that matters. So today I'm giving you the episode I wish that every single mother got handed at discharge, because we're going to be going through 25 things that happen postpartum that nobody warns you about, grouped by category, explained clinically, and delivered like a friend, not a textbook, not a pamphlet, a friend who happens to be a nurse practitioner who has seen these things 1,000 times and has also gone through it herself. Let's go. Let's start with mental and emotional, because this is where moms feel the most lost and the most alone. Number one is crying without knowing why. You're sitting there, baby is fine, partner's home, nothing is technically wrong, and you just start crying. And then you feel crazy for crying when you have nothing to cry about. Here's exactly what's happening. In the first few days after giving birth, your estrogen and progesterone drop faster and harder than any other point in your life. We're talking about a hormonal shift that is clinically comparable to what happens in menopause, except it happens in 24 hours instead of years. And your brain is flooded with oxytocin and prolactin while simultaneously crashing from the hormones that kept you stable for 9 months. And crying without a reason is not a character flaw. It's a neurological response to a massive physiological event. So this is normal. Number two is the baby blues versus postpartum depression. And the difference matters. Baby blues affect up to 80% of new moms. Tearfulness, mood swings, irritability, feeling overwhelmed typically peaks around 3 to 5 days and resolves by 2 weeks postpartum. This is normal. What is not baby blues is when those feelings don't lift after 2 weeks, when you feel numb, disconnected, hopeless, unable to function. That's postpartum depression. And it affects 1 in 5 moms. 1 in 5 moms. That's a lot. And if that's you, you're not weak, you're not failing. You have a clinical condition that responds really well to treatment. This is when you need to see someone. Number 3, intrusive thoughts. This one does not get talked about enough, and it needs to. Intrusive thoughts are unwanted, disturbing mental images or fears, and it affects up to 91% of new parents. That is such a high number. I want you to really hear that. 91%. The thoughts that flash through your mind about something bad happening to your baby or a fear so specific and awful it shocks you, that is an intrusive thought. In the vast majority of moms, it is a symptom of hypervigilant, sleep deprived brain that is in protection mode. It's not a sign that you're dangerous. It's not a sign that you don't love your baby. And it's not a sign that you're losing your mind. The distinction matters clinically because intrusive thoughts are ego dystonic, meaning they feel wrong and disturbing to you. You don't want them. If you're having thoughts that feel more like urges or are escalating, please reach out to your provider. But a flash of a terrible thought that horrifies you, that is more common than anyone admits. You're not crazy, you're postpartum. Number 4 is feeling disconnected from your baby. The movies show this immediate, overwhelming rush of love the second your baby is born. And for some moms, that's real. But for a lot of moms, I want to say this clearly, bonding takes time. It's a process, not a moment. If you look at your baby and feel more numb than overwhelmed, especially in the early days, that's not a sign that you're a bad mother. It can be a sign of birth trauma, exhaustion, or the sheer shock of what your body and your life just went through. Give yourself grace. Bonding builds with time and contact. But if it concerns you, talk to someone. But just know that you are not alone in this experience. Number 5, mourning your old life and your old self. This one is so rarely validated, and it absolutely needs to be. You are allowed to grieve the life that you had before, your freedom, your sleep, your identity outside of mom. You love your baby deeply at the same time. Matrescence is the physiological and identity transformation of becoming a mother. It's a real documented process. You are not the same person you were before. That is a loss, even in the middle of something beautiful. Feeling grief does not mean you made a mistake. It just means that you're human. Let's move on to physical symptoms because your body is doing so much more right now than anybody prepares you for. Number 6 is the hormone crash at days 3 to 5. I know I touched on this already, but I want to name it specifically because a lot of moms don't realize that there's a predictable window of when things tend to feel the hardest. So around days 3 to 5 postpartum, when your milk comes in, when the initial adrenaline of birth wears off, and when you're deep in no sleep zone, that's when the hormonal drop is at its deepest. So if you hit day 4 and you feel like you've fallen off a cliff emotionally, you're not spiraling. You're right on schedule. This is normal. Number 7 is night sweats. And when I say nobody warned me about this, nobody warned me about this. I am 14 months postpartum with my second, and I am still experiencing these. And sometimes I still question, is this normal? But I'm breastfeeding and the hormones are there. So waking up soaked through your sheets and having to change your clothes at 2 a.m., wondering what is happening to your body. This is your body excreting the enormous amount of fluid it retains during pregnancy. Estrogen dropping also contributes to the vasomotor instability, which is the same mechanism behind hot flashes in menopause. It typically peaks in the first week and usually resolves within the first month. Keep a change of clothes and a towel next to your bed. It ends, this is normal. And if you're like me, it can extend a little longer and can still be normal as well. Number 8 is postpartum hair loss. This one tends to hit between 3 and 4 months postpartum, but it can be alarming. You pull a brush through your hair and you're holding what looks like a small animal. You're not going bald. During pregnancy, elevated estrogen keeps your hair in the growth phase longer than usual. So you actually lose less hair than normal. After birth, when estrogen drops, all of that hair that was held in the growth phase shifts to the shedding phase simultaneously. It's called telogen effluvium, and it's temporary. Most moms see significant improvement by 6 to 12 months. Nutrition deficiencies, particularly iron and biotin, can worsen it. So it's worth getting labs checked if it feels severe. Number 9 is after pains with breastfeeding. If you're breastfeeding and feeling cramping, sometimes intense cramping, when your baby latches, that is oxytocin doing exactly what it's supposed to do. Breastfeeding triggers oxytocin release, which causes uterine contractions that help your uterus shrink back down to its pre-pregnancy size. It tends to be stronger with second and subsequent babies, and it typically eases significantly by the end of the first week. Ibuprofen, taken about 30 minutes before a feed, if your provider approves it, can help significantly. Number 10 is postpartum joint pain and instability. If your hips, knees, wrists, or even fingers feel loose, achy, or unstable, you're not imagining it. The hormone relaxin, which loosens your joints and ligaments during pregnancy to prepare for birth, doesn't disappear immediately after delivery. It can stay elevated, especially if you're breastfeeding for months. This can contribute to that body does not feel like mine sensation. And gentle movement, pelvic floor therapy, and supporting your joints during lifting and feeding positions can all help. Number 11, C-section shelf and numbness. If you had a cesarean and you notice a shelf, like a ledge of skin and tissue above your scar, and numbness or altered sensation in the surrounding areas, that is a normal part of healing. The nerves in that area were disrupted during surgery, and sensory changes can persist for months or even years. The shelf can improve significantly with scar tissue massage once the incision is fully healed, typically around 6 to 8 weeks. Pelvic floor therapists are trained in this and can make a real difference. Number 12 is lochia, the bleeding that stops and starts. Postpartum bleeding, which is called lochia, can last 4 to 6 weeks, and it's not always linear. It might slow down and then pick up again, mostly when you're more active. And it changes from red to pink to brown to yellow, white over time. What warrants a call to your provider is soaking through a pad in an hour or less, passing clots larger than a golf ball, or bleeding that returns to heavy, bright red after it had significantly lightened. Fluctuations in flow with activity changes are normal. Number 13 is that first postpartum period. Whether it comes at 6 weeks or 6 months, depending on whether you're breastfeeding or not, that first postpartum period can be a lot. Heavier than before, more cramping, irregular. Your cycle is recalibrating after pregnancy, and it can take several cycles to normalize. If you're breastfeeding, prolactin suppresses ovulation and can delay the return of your period significantly, but it is not foolproof birth control. Just want to name that clearly. Talk about feeding, and I want to say this up front, whether you are breastfeeding, formula feeding, or combination feeding, you are feeding your baby, and that is what matters. This section is not about judgment. It's just making sure you actually understand what's happening to your body so you can make informed choices. Number 14 is engorgement. When your milk comes in, it usually is around days 2 to 4. Your breasts can feel like they have been replaced with rocks. Hard, hot, painful, and sometimes so full that your baby actually has trouble latching because there's no give to the breast. And this is normal, and it does regulate. In the early days, feed frequently, 8 to 12 times in 24 hours. If your baby can't latch due to engorgement, hand express or pump just enough to soften the areola before latching. Do not pump to empty. This signals your body to make more. Cold compression between feeds can help with discomfort. Number 15, nipple pain in week 1. And I want to be really honest with you here because I hear that breastfeeding shouldn't hurt if you're doing it right. And a lot of it can be true, but I think it sets moms up to feel like they're failing. In the first 1 to 2 weeks, some nipple tenderness and initial latch discomfort can be common, even with a good latch. Your nipples are adapting to something they've never done before. That being said, sharp, toe curling pain throughout the entire feed, cracking, bleeding, or blistering is not something to push through. This usually signals a latch issue or a tongue tie, and a lactation consultant can change everything. The distinction is in the initial latch discomfort that eases after letdown, give it time, versus pain that persists or worsens, get support. Number 16 is cluster feeding. Your baby is latched on what feels like constantly. You have barely put them down for 6 hours. You are convinced you don't have enough milk. This is cluster feeding, and it's your baby's way of signaling for your body to increase supply. It typically happens in the evenings and during growth spurts, and it does not mean that you're not producing enough. It means your baby is doing exactly what babies are biologically designed to do to help establish your supply. It's exhausting, but it's temporary. Hang in there. Number 17 is formula guilt, and I'm going to say this as clearly as I can. Formula is food. Formula is safe. Formula has kept millions of babies alive and thriving. If you choose formula, need formula, or supplement with formula for any reason, you have not failed. The mental and physical health of the feeding parent matters. A baby fed by a mom who is not depleted and miserable is a thriving baby. Whatever feeding choice gets you both to a healthy, sustainable place, that is the right choice. Okay, let's talk sleep and energy, or rather, the complete destruction of both. Number 18 is wired but exhausted. You're running on no sleep, but when you finally get a window to rest, you cannot shut off your brain. You are exhausted and wired simultaneously. This is cortisol. When your body is under chronic stress of sleep deprivation, cortisol, which is your stress hormone, stays elevated. And elevated cortisol is alerting and activating even when your body is desperate for rest. It's a cruel biological irony. Deep breathing, a dark room, and limiting screens before any sleep window can help lower cortisol enough to let sleep happen. Number 19, not being able to sleep even when baby sleeps. You've been awake for hours, baby is finally asleep, and you're laying there, wide awake, heart pounding, mind racing. This is also cortisol. This is also postpartum anxiety presenting at the same time. And this is incredibly common. It is your nervous system stuck in a hypervigilant threat detection mode that was useful for keeping your baby alive, but is now preventing you from recovering. If this is persistent, please name it to your provider. It is treatable. Number 20 is postpartum insomnia as a clinical symptom. Building on that, postpartum insomnia is not just being a new mom. It's recognized as a clinical symptom that can occur independently of a baby's sleep schedule. Some moms experience true insomnia, which is difficulty falling asleep, staying asleep, or waking up early, regardless of when the baby sleeps or is awake. And it is often tied to anxiety, hormonal dysregulation, and nervous system dysfunction. If you're sleeping less than your baby's sleep schedule requires, please talk to someone. Sleep deprivation is not a rite of passage, it is a health crisis and can lead to a lot of other symptoms. Number 21 is postpartum cognitive fog. You cannot find words, you walk into a room and forget why, you feel like your brain has been replaced with wet cotton. Postpartum brain fog is real and it has real causes. Sleep deprivation impairs prefrontal cortex function. Hormonal shifts affect memory and cognition, and nutritional depletion, particularly omega 3s, iron, and B12, impact your brain function. You're not losing your mind, you're depleted. And depletion is addressable. Last category, and honestly one of the most important, identity and relationships. Number 22, not recognizing yourself. You look in the mirror and the person that looks back at you doesn't feel like you. Your body is different, your priorities are different, your relationship feels different, and your interests might feel different. That is matrescence, the profound identity transformation of becoming a mother. It is as significant developmentally as adolescence. You're not the same person you were before, and that is a loss that is not to be dismissed. It is a transition that deserves acknowledgement, support, and time. Number 23 is that touched out feeling. You've had a human on your body for what feels like every moment of every day. And when your partner reaches for you at the end of the day, even for something as simple as a hug, your skin crawls. You're not broken. You are not falling out of love. You are overstimulated and under resourced. Your body has given everything it has. That touched out feeling is a physiological response to sensory overload, and it's incredibly common in breastfeeding moms whose nervous system is maxed out. Naming it to your partner not as rejection, but as information is one of the most important conversations you can have postpartum. Number 24, resentment towards your partner. This one is uncomfortable, but it feels real and it needs to be named. Many postpartum moms feel a deep, sometimes shocking resentment towards their partner who gets to sleep longer, who gets to leave the house alone, whose body didn't change, who don't feel the relentless pull of being the primary caregiver. This resentment is data. It's telling you the division of labor, sleep, and support is not equitable. That is not a marriage problem. It is a logistic problem that can be solved with an honest conversation and a concrete plan making. I need you to take the 2 a.m. feed on Tuesdays and Thursdays is much more useful than stewing in resentment alone. Your feelings are valid and they need to be said out loud. Number 25 is loss of libido and why it's physiological and not personal. Low or zero libido postpartum is incredibly common, and it's almost entirely hormonal. Estrogen is low, which affects vaginal tissue, lubrication, and sensation. Prolactin, if you're breastfeeding, suppresses testosterone, which drives libido in women. Your body is in survival and recovery mode, not reproduction mode. This is not a sign that your relationship is failing. It's a sign that your body is doing exactly what it's designed to do in the postpartum period. Communication with your partner, patience with yourself, and addressing any physical discomfort with your provider are all that matter here. This typically improves significantly as hormones begin to regulate, particularly after weaning. Okay, 25 things. We just moved through a lot, and I moved through them quickly because I wanted to cover as much ground as possible in one episode. But here's the thing, 25 things at conversational speed is a lot to absorb when you're postpartum and your brain is functioning on no sleep and hormone chaos. So I put it all in writing for you. The free guide, Is It Normal? A Clinician's Honest Guide to the First 12 Weeks Postpartum, covers all of this and more with the clinical context, the warning signs to watch for, and the practical guidance on what to actually do with this information. It is in the show notes. Go grab it. It's free and it's yours. I want you to save this episode. I want you to share it with a pregnant friend who doesn't know what's coming, and I want you to send it to a new mom in your life who is white knuckling her way through week 2, convinced that something is wrong with her. Because here is what I want you to walk away with from this episode knowing. These things have names. They have clinical explanations. They're not signs that you're failing or you're broken or weak or not cut out for this. You're postpartum. And postpartum is a medical state, not a mindset problem. In episode 3, we're going to go even deeper on that. I'm going to give you the clinical case for why you're not crazy, and I'm going to make sure you leave that episode with something I think every postpartum mom deserves: permission. Permission to feel what you're feeling, permission to ask for more, and permission to stop pretending you're fine even when you're not. I'll see you there. Thanks for being here. The show exists because of you.